They told us we were wrong, that we had misunderstood the universe, that humanity was small, fragile, and destined to serve those who came before. For years we believed it. We thought we were explorers in someone else's galaxy, guests in a place already claimed by ancient, powerful races. Every law we followed, every treaty we signed came from that fear, the fear that we were nothing more than children among giants. But we thought wrong. It began when the first alien fleet arrived in our skies. They didn't come as conquerors, at least not at first. They came with promises, trade, technology, peace. They said they had seen countless species destroy themselves, and they wanted to guide us, to teach us how to live in harmony. And we believed them. We gave them our oceans to study, our cities to map, even our orbit to protect. The governments called it cooperation. The people called it progress. But in truth, we were giving away our freedom one signature at a time. At first, it was small things. Alien advisors placed in our councils, their observers stationed on our colonies, their laws quietly integrated into ours. They said it was all for safety, for order, for our own good. And humanity, desperate to belong in the galactic community, obeyed. We stopped questioning. We stopped building our own ships. We stopped dreaming of our own stars. We became tenants in our own universe. But not everyone accepted it. There were whispers of resistance, scattered voices, mostly dismissed as radicals. They spoke of hidden truths, of deals made in secret, of alien fleets orbiting Earth not as friends but as wardens. People laughed at them, called them paranoid. But one day, one of those voices found proof. It started with a transmission, faint, distorted, and clearly not meant for human ears. A simple data stream intercepted by a listening post near the edge of Mars. The message was encrypted, but the signal wasn't military. It was something older, something deeper. The scientists who decoded it found patterns, coordinates, names, and one chilling phrase repeated across the file. Humanity must not awaken. The message spread quietly among a few trusted circles. Some dismissed it as a hoax, others as alien miscommunication. But a handful took it seriously. Soldiers, scientists, engineers who had seen too much to ignore. They began to dig. What they uncovered would change everything. Buried under years of peace treaties and cooperation programs was a network, not of diplomacy, but of control. Entire human research stations had gone dark after alien inspection visits. Colonies that once thrived suddenly declared themselves off-limits by galactic law. Even our communication satellites were being monitored, filtered, edited before reaching deep space. Humanity wasn't part of a community. We were being contained. The aliens called us the young species. They said our minds were too violent, too unpredictable. But what they feared wasn't our violence. It was our potential. The data logs found on the stolen alien ship confirmed it. Humanity had advanced faster than any known species in recorded galactic history. We were evolving in ways they didn't understand. Within 2 centuries, our technology had already begun to match theirs, and that scared them. That's when the resistance stopped hiding. They called themselves the Reclaimers. Their message was simple. Humanity was never meant to kneel. They began stealing ships, sabotaging alien facilities, freeing captured scientists. At first, the galaxy laughed at us. Primitive humans with stolen tech, waging a hopeless fight. But they weren't laughing for long because something was different about humans. Every defeat taught us faster. Every loss made us stronger. When the aliens jammed our weapons, we built new ones. When they blocked our communication, we found a way to speak through gravity waves. And when they tried to erase our history, we carved it into the stars themselves. But this wasn't just a war for survival. It was a revelation. The more we fought, the more we discovered about what they'd kept from us. Ancient ruins on Mars, buried under dust long before humanity was born. Strange genetic markers in our DNA, eerily similar to species far older than Earth. And one shocking truth. We weren't the first humans. The galaxy had seen us before, long ago. Records spoke of a species that burned too bright, too fast, that had once defied the galactic order and vanished into darkness. The aliens called them the First Flame. According to their legends, that race had been erased for the safety of all life. But the descriptions, the genetic patterns, the symbols, all pointed to one impossible conclusion. We were their descendants. That's why the aliens watched us so closely. They weren't protecting us. They were making sure we never remembered what we were capable of. They feared that if we ever realized the truth, history would repeat itself, and humanity would rise again, not as servants, but as masters. The Reclaimers' leader once said, "They call us dangerous." They're right. And when the first alien capital fell to human hands, the galaxy finally understood why. We didn't conquer for vengeance or domination. We fought because something inside us refused to be chained. Every human soldier, every pilot, every engineer carried that same fire, the spark of the first flame. But freedom came at a cost. Entire colonies vanished in retaliation. Whole fleets were wiped out. The aliens unleashed weapons designed to erase memories, rewrite history, even warp time itself. Yet somehow humanity kept coming back. Stronger, smarter, angrier. It wasn't just a rebellion anymore. It was evolution in motion, and now, after decades of silence, something has changed again. Reports from the outer colonies tell of a new kind of ship, black, silent, moving faster than light should allow. It doesn't broadcast identification. It doesn't respond to hails. But every time it appears, alien fleets vanish. No wreckage, no survivors. Just silence. Some say it's an experimental reclaimer ship. Others whisper it's something else, something old, something awakened. The aliens have begun evacuating systems near its sightings. The Galactic Council has declared it a myth, a human fabrication meant to spread fear. But the veterans who fought in the early wars say otherwise. They've seen that black silhouette before. Humanity thought we had broken free, thought the war was over. But deep down, we know the truth. This is only the beginning. Because if the legends are real, if that ship truly is what they say it is, then the galaxy is about to remember what humanity really is, and this time, we won't be asking for a seat at their table. We'll be taking back what was always ours. But as the first transmission crackled through the deep space network, carrying an unknown human voice repeating a single line, "We thought wrong," every listening station across the stars fell silent. Because somewhere in the dark, something human had awakened, and the universe would never be the same again. The signal changed everything. For days, no one knew where it came from. The voice was unmistakably human, but it wasn't from any registered colony or station. The tone was steady, almost calm, but beneath it, there was something else, something ancient. The words, "We thought wrong," echoed through every channel before the transmission cut off. No coordinates, no explanation, just silence. Earth's command centers scrambled to trace it. The Reclaimers, now fragmented and hunted, thought it might be a distress call. Others believed it was a warning. The aliens, on the other hand, reacted with quiet panic. Entire fleets repositioned overnight. Civilian trade routes were closed. The Galactic Council issued a universal order. No ship, human or otherwise, was to enter the uncharted sectors near the signal's origin. They called it Containment Zone Theta, but humans have never been good at following orders, especially not when told to stay away. A small human ship, the Vigilant Dawn, received fragments of the original message before it was blocked. Its crew was a mix of veterans, scientists, and wanderers, people who had seen too much of the galaxy's hypocrisy to still believe in official stories. Their captain, an older man with a quiet voice and tired eyes, had fought in the first Reclaimer uprising. He had seen alien ships burn and friends vanish into the void. He didn't trust the Council, and he didn't trust silence. So when the order came to stand down, he did the opposite. They left orbit under false clearance, masking their trajectory through debris fields and dead zones. For weeks, they traveled deeper into the unknown, guided only by the faint remnants of that human voice. It was like chasing a ghost, but something about the tone, the way it carried both warning and hope, pulled them forward. The further they went, the stranger things became. The stars looked different. Navigation systems began to distort. Space itself seemed to ripple, like they were passing through a place that didn't want to be found. Strange radiation signatures appeared, similar to human tech but older, far older than any ship humanity had built. The ship's AI couldn't identify them. The readings matched no known civilization. Yet the design patterns resembled human construction. One night, as the crew slept, the ship's communication deck picked up another faint transmission. This one was weaker, fragmented by interference, but it carried new words. We're not first. Do not trust them. The voice broke, dissolved into static, and was gone. When the captain played it for the crew, no one spoke for a long time. It wasn't fear that filled the room, it was realization. The stories, the myths, the whispers about the first flame, maybe they weren't myths at all. Maybe humanity's ancestors hadn't been destroyed. Maybe they had hidden something. Something the aliens didn't want us to find. They pushed on. The deeper they traveled, the more signs they found. Ancient satellites bearing faint traces of human DNA, derelict ships that looked human but predated Earth's space age by thousands of years. None of it made sense. It was like finding a reflection of ourselves scattered across forgotten stars. Then came the first encounter. An alien vessel appeared from the edge of a nearby nebula. Sleek, silver, unmistakably of Council design. But instead of attacking, it shadowed the vigilant dawn at a distance. It didn't broadcast warnings or fire weapons. It simply followed. When the crew tried to hail it, no reply came. They altered course. It followed. They powered down. It waited. It was as if it was guarding something, or watching them to see what they would do next. For 3 days, the silent pursuit continued. Then suddenly the alien ship vanished. No hyperspace trail, no explosion. It simply blinked out of existence. The crew barely had time to react before their sensors picked up something massive emerging ahead, a black structure floating in the dark. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a station. It was something else entirely. It looked like a scar in space, jagged, cold, absorbing all light. Its surface shimmered faintly like it was alive. The readings showed impossible numbers, energy levels far beyond human understanding. The captain ordered the crew to hold position, but the ship began to drift on its own, pulled gently toward the structure. Every alarm went off at once. Systems malfunctioned, screens flickered, and for a moment they could hear voices, overlapping whispers, speaking in dozens of languages, human and alien alike. The power shut down completely, leaving only the sound of breathing and the hum of something vast moving around them. Then the ship stopped. Outside the window, symbols began glowing across the black surface. Ancient runes, some resembling human letters. The youngest crew member recognized one of them. It was carved on a relic once found on Mars. The same symbol historians had dismissed as coincidence. It meant home. A blinding pulse of light washed through the cockpit, and in that moment, every crew member saw something. Flashes of cities that were not on Earth. Skies filled with twin suns, massive ships soaring through silver clouds. They saw humans, thousands of them, standing among stars we'd never reached. And then just as quickly it was gone. The systems came back online and the structure was empty again, silent as before. They tried to record it, but all data was corrupted. The black structure no longer appeared on sensors, even though they could still see it with their eyes. It was like it existed between realities. The captain gave a quiet order to retreat, but before they could, another signal hit their ship, this time clear, strong, and human. Vigilant dawn, it said. You were never meant to find this. Turn back. They're coming! The voice was familiar, unmistakably the same one from the first transmission. The crew froze. The communications officer tried to respond, but the system refused to transmit. The voice continued. They know you're here. Leave before they... Static swallowed the rest. Moments later, dozens of blips appeared on the radar. Alien signatures, fast, coordinated. The vigilant dawn turned hard, engines screaming as they tried to escape. Beams of light flashed across the dark, but the black structure began to shimmer again, this time violently, like it was reacting to the incoming fleet. And then, before anyone could understand what was happening, the aliens vanished again. Not destroyed, just erased. The structure went silent once more. No radiation, no energy spikes, nothing. It was as if the battle had never happened. The crew didn't speak for a long time. The captain finally whispered, "We thought wrong." No one knew what he meant. Not yet. But they could all feel it. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't alien. It was human, or something close enough to it that the difference no longer mattered. They turned back toward home, but as the engines roared to life, another light appeared far ahead, distant, but moving toward them fast. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a fleet. It was a ship, black, angular, and silent. The same kind that had haunted alien reports for years. It didn't attack. It simply drifted closer, almost curious, as if studying them. Then a single message came through, one line, unencrypted, direct, "Welcome back." The vigilant Dawn fell completely silent. Every crew member looked at each other, hearts pounding, realizing they had just crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Humanity had stepped into something far bigger than war, far older than fear, and somewhere in the dark. The truth waited, about who we were, what we had been, and what we were about to become. The captain stared into the void, the reflection of that black ship burning in his eyes, and he knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, humanity would never be the same again. The black ship didn't move at first. It just hovered there, motionless against the stars, absorbing all light like a shadow that refused to fade. The crew of the Vigilant Dawn watched it in silence, every instinct screaming to run, yet none of them could bring themselves to move. There was something about that ship, something that felt familiar, not in shape or design, but in presence. It felt human. Then a soft hum filled the cockpit, low and steady, vibrating through every wall and bone. The ship's controls flickered to life on their own. The engines slowed, the navigation locked, and every attempt to override the system failed. The Vigilant Dawn was no longer flying itself. It was being guided. The communications officer tried once more to transmit, but the signal refused to send. Instead, the console blinked with a message, written in clear human language. "Hold position. Identification in progress." The captain clenched his jaw. "Identification by who?" he whispered under his breath. No one answered. Then slowly the black ship began to move. It drifted closer, and for a brief moment the crew could see its surface more clearly. It wasn't made of metal. It looked almost organic, like living material shaped into perfect symmetry. Along its hull, faint patterns pulsed in rhythm with the hum, forming symbols no one recognized. Yet somehow they looked right, as if some part of their minds already knew what they meant. As it stopped a few hundred meters away, a section of its surface opened like a dark petal. A beam of pale light reached out, scanning the Vigilant Dawn. Every system flickered as if being read, every file, every log, every heartbeat on board. The scan ended as suddenly as it began, and a single line appeared on the main screen. "Human signature confirmed. Access permitted." Before anyone could react, a figure appeared on the main display, flickering, translucent, and human. The crew gasped. It was a woman, or at least something resembling one. Her features were sharp but calm, her voice steady but filled with a strange echo. "You've come too far," she said. "You should not be here." The captain stepped forward. "Who are you?" The hologram paused, studying them. "Once we were like you," she said softly. "Curious, restless, hungry for the stars. But we learned the truth too late." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "The truth about what?" The captain pressed. "The galaxy," she said simply. "The war you think you started was not yours. It began long before your kind took to the skies." Her words sent a chill through the room. "What do you mean?" "There was another humanity once," she continued. "Your ancestors. The first flame, they rose fast just as you have. But they discovered something that frightened the old powers. So they were erased. Not destroyed, not conquered, erased from memory, from history, from time itself." The room was silent. No one dared to speak. "Those who survived built sanctuaries in the void," she went on. "We became the shadows that the council feared. We built ships like this one to protect what remained of our kind. You were meant to be safe, hidden, reborn on a world where memory would fade. But your evolution outpaced their control. You began to awaken. That is why they watch you. That is why they fear you." The captain felt his breath catch. "You're saying We're their descendants? She nodded slowly. You are the second spark, the new flame. And now it burns again. Before anyone could respond, the hologram flickered violently. Static filled the air. Then came a new voice, harsh, mechanical, and distinctly alien. Unauthorized transmission detected. Human vessel, disengage immediately. The display cut to black. The hum stopped. Outside, space began to shimmer with movement, alien ships dropping out of hyperspace, surrounding them. The crew scrambled to battle stations, but the Vigilant Dawn's controls were still locked. The captain cursed under his breath. They found us. Then, without warning, the black ship moved. It didn't fire weapons. It didn't evade. It simply pulsed with light, and every alien ship within range froze mid-maneuver. Their weapons powered down, their engines died, and one by one, they began to drift lifelessly. The crew stared in shock. The black ship had done it effortlessly, without a single visible shot, but the victory didn't feel like one. The hologram flickered back to life, her voice strained now. They will not stop. You must leave this sector before it's too late. The captain hesitated. Come with us. Whoever you are, whatever you are, you can help us. She shook her head. My kind cannot leave. We are bound to this place. We were made to guard it, and to ensure that when you returned, you would know the truth. The ship trembled and alarms flared across the control deck. The crew's sensors picked up a growing energy surge beneath the black ship, something deep, something enormous. It wasn't alone. The dark structure they'd found earlier, the one that erased fleets, was awakening again. The hologram's image wavered. You are not ready for what's coming, but soon you will have no choice. And then she was gone. The captain gave the order to retreat, but before the engines could power up, a burst of light engulfed the Vigilant Dawn. Time seemed to bend. The stars around them shifted and twisted until everything went black. When the light faded, they were somewhere else. The scanners showed a planet below, a world of blue oceans and white clouds, eerily similar to Earth but untouched by any known civilization. The ship drifted silently in orbit. The crew stared in disbelief. Did we just jump? The pilot whispered. The captain nodded slowly, still trying to process it. Or someone moved us. The communications officer worked quickly, scanning for signals. No alien transmissions. No council presence. We're off every known chart. Then where the hell are we? The captain muttered. Before anyone could answer, the sensors picked up something on the planet's surface. Structures. Massive, ancient, and unmistakably human. Cities buried beneath the soil, glowing faintly with energy. The same architecture they had seen in the visions from the black structure. The captain leaned closer to the display. Prepare a landing team. As the crew suited up, tension filled the air. They didn't know what they would find down there, but every instinct told them it was important. As the shuttle descended, the view grew clearer, towers broken by time, symbols etched in the ground, and the remains of machines that looked both human and alien. When they touched down, the ground felt strange under their boots, soft, warm, almost alive. The air was breathable. The scientist knelt to collect samples, but before she could, her scanner beeped. There's power running underground, she said quietly. Something's still active here. They followed the signal through the ruins until they found a large circular platform. It was covered in dust, but one symbol stood out in the center, the same one that had appeared on the black structure. Home! The captain reached out and touched it. The ground trembled. Dust fell from ancient walls. A beam of light shot up into the sky, cutting through the clouds. The entire city began to stir, lights awakening in sequence like a heartbeat. Captain, one of the crew whispered, staring in awe. I think we just woke it up. Above them, the black ship reappeared, silent as ever, hovering like a guardian. And somewhere in the darkness of space, far beyond their sight, the galaxy began to react. Fleets mobilized. Signals went silent. The old powers whispered among themselves. Humanity had crossed the line they had been warned never to cross. The Vigilant Dawn's captain looked toward the glowing horizon, knowing this discovery would ignite a storm the universe wasn't ready for, and deep below the planet's surface, something began to move, slowly, as if waking from a long sleep. The voice returned once more, faint through their comms, barely a whisper now. "You thought wrong, but now you'll see why." The signal cut, leaving only the sound of the wind sweeping across the ruins, and the uneasy realization that humanity had just opened a door that could never be closed again. The light from the ancient city pulsed brighter with every passing second, echoing through the ruins like a heartbeat. The ground beneath the crew's feet trembled softly, as if the planet itself was awakening. The captain stood in silence, staring at the beam that reached into the sky. It was both beautiful and terrifying. The scientist whispered, "Whatever this place is, it's responding to us." The crew spread out, checking their equipment. The readings made no sense. Power levels were off the charts, but the energy signature was unmistakably human. The captain frowned. This place shouldn't exist. Not like this. From orbit, the Vigilant Dawn reported that the beam was visible from space. The black ship still hovered above the clouds, silent and unmoving. The crew didn't know if it was protecting them or watching them. Every so often, faint ripples of energy spread out from its hull, like waves across the sky. As they moved deeper into the ruins, the team found walls covered in inscriptions, symbols that matched those from the black structure. The engineer ran a scanner over one of them and froze. "Captain, these are DNA patterns." "Human DNA." The scientist took a closer look. No, not just human. Modified, enhanced. This was technology fused with biology. Whoever lived here wasn't just human. They were something more. The words hit harder than expected. The captain's throat felt dry. "You're saying this planet belonged to the first flame?" Before anyone could respond, the ground quaked violently. Dust poured from the broken ceilings as ancient machinery began to move. Panels opened along the walls, revealing lines of dormant drones, sleek, black, and humanoid in shape. They looked like statues at first, but their eyes flickered with light. "Everyone back!" the captain shouted. The machines turned their heads in unison. Their movements were slow but deliberate. Then one stepped forward and spoke in a calm, mechanical voice. "Designation confirmed. Human genome recognized. Reclamation protocol initiated." A blinding light filled the chamber. When it faded, the drones had vanished. In their place, the walls displayed a holographic map, a vast network of systems spreading across the galaxy. Human symbols marked dozens of worlds, most of them deep within restricted alien zones. The scientist whispered, "It's a map of our colonies. But some of these worlds don't exist anymore. They were erased from every database." The captain stared at it in disbelief. "Or hidden." Before anyone could react, the comms officer's voice crackled through their earpieces from the Vigilant Dawn. "Captain, we're detecting massive energy surges coming from deep below your location. And there's movement in orbit. Alien fleets, multiple signatures, closing in fast." The captain's heart sank. "How many?" "Too many," came the reply. "And they're not fighting each other this time. They're all heading for this planet." The crew exchanged silent looks. It was clear now, they weren't just explorers anymore. They had triggered something the galaxy had tried to bury for centuries. The captain turned to the scientist. "How long before we can shut this down?" She shook her head. "I don't think we can. It's not a machine you can turn off. It's reacting to us, to our presence." Another tremor rolled through the ground, stronger this time. Cracks spread across the floor as a massive rumble echoed from below. Dust rose in clouds. Somewhere deep beneath them, something huge was stirring. Then came a low hum, the same one they'd heard near the black ship. Only now it was everywhere. Inside their helmets, in the air, even in their bones. The captain clenched his teeth. "That sound? It's calling to something." Outside, the beam of light thickened, shimmering with patterns that twisted like language. The scientist watched it with wide eyes. "It's transmitting, but it's not broadcasting into space. It's calling inward." The captain frowned. "Inward to what?" Before she could answer, the Vigilant Dawn's pilot shouted through the comms, "Captain, the black ship is moving!" Everyone looked up. The massive vessel in the sky had shifted position, aligning itself with the beam. Its surface rippled like dark water. The entire planet seemed to respond, its magnetic field twisting in sync. Then from the distance, the first alien ships broke through the clouds, hundreds of them spreading out in formation. The captain could hear the tension in his crew's voices. "They're coming for us, aren't they?" "Yes," he said quietly. "But I don't think we're the target." From the sky, lightning-like energy bolts rained down, striking near the ruins. The ground shook violently. The team dove for cover as shockwaves tore through the air. One blast hit the far edge of the city, obliterating a row of ancient towers. The Vigilant Dawn's voice came through the static. "Captain, we're taking fire! Shields at 60%! The black ship isn't defending us, it's doing something else!" The captain looked up at the beam of light again. It had begun to change color, shifting from white to deep gold. The air buzzed with static, and strange whispers filled the comms. Human voices speaking in overlapping tones like echoes of countless generations. The scientist clutched her helmet, shaking. "Captain, do you hear that?" "I hear it," he said, his voice steady despite the rising fear. "They're not speaking to us," she said. "They're speaking through us." Another explosion shook the city. The alien fleets in orbit opened fire, unleashing a storm of plasma bolts toward the planet. But before the shots could land, the black ship pulsed once, just once, and every blast froze mid-air. The energy dissipated into nothing. Then, in the same instant, half the alien fleet went dark. Ships drifted silently, their engines dead, their systems offline. The remaining fleets fell back, regrouping. The black ship turned slowly toward them, and its hull began to glow. The crew of the Vigilant Dawn watched in stunned silence as a deep vibration rippled across the sky. It wasn't an attack, it was a signal. The captain whispered, "It's communicating," with the other ships. But the aliens responded with fear. They fired everything they had, hundreds of blasts cutting through space. The black ship didn't move. The shots vanished before reaching it, as if swallowed by space itself. And then, in a moment of stillness, a new sound filled the air. A low, rising hum that felt alive. The ground split open. From deep beneath the ruins, light erupted in all directions. The earth tore apart as something massive began to rise, a shape so large it blotted out the sky. The team stumbled back, shielding their eyes. Dust and light swirled together as the silhouette emerged. Another ship, but this one was far larger. Its surface shimmered with golden veins of energy, pulsing in rhythm with the black vessel above. The scientists stared in awe. "It's not just one ship. It's an entire fleet buried under this world." The captain felt his heart pound in his chest. "We've just woken the first flame." As the new ship broke free from the planet's crust, it sent a shockwave across the stars. Every sensor across the galaxy would be detecting it. Every alien leader would know humanity had found something far beyond their control. The black ship drifted closer to the new vessel, aligning perfectly with it. Together, their energy signatures merged into one, forming a frequency unlike anything recorded. And in that moment, the whispers returned, louder now, clearer, thousands of voices overlapping into a single, unified tone. "We were never gone," the voices said. "We were waiting." The sky turned gold, and the captain could feel the air thicken around him. The crew scrambled back toward the shuttle, but the ground shook so violently they could barely stand. From orbit, the Vigilant Dawn's pilot screamed through the comms, "Captain, we can't hold position! The atmosphere's destabilizing." The captain looked once more at the rising ship, the legacy of a forgotten humanity, and felt the weight of history pressing down on him. This was the truth hidden for centuries, the reason the aliens had feared them. Humanity hadn't just evolved, it had returned. And as the sky burned with golden light and the world trembled beneath their feet, the captain realized the moment had come when the universe would finally remember who we truly were. But what that awakening would bring, no one knew yet. The beam surged higher, tearing open the clouds, reaching beyond the stars, calling something even greater from the dark, and for the first time in centuries, the galaxy held its breath. The sky burned gold as the beam reached higher, breaking through the clouds like a spear of light that refused to fade. The crew of the Vigilant Dawn watched from the ruins, their hearts racing as the massive ship continued to rise from beneath the planet's crust. The ground quaked, tearing open old stone and shattering towers that had stood for millennia. Above them, The black ship hovered in silent formation with the newly awakened vessel, both humming with impossible energy. The captain couldn't take his eyes off the sight. "We didn't just find the past," he said softly. "We woke it up, but as the light spread, something changed. The golden glow began to twist, rippling with darker shades of red and violet. The hum deepened into something heavier, almost painful to hear. The scientists' instruments went wild, readings fluctuating beyond their limits. "Captain, the energy output is climbing, too fast. It's feeding on something." "Feeding?" the captain repeated, turning toward her. She nodded, fear flickering across her face. "It's drawing power directly from the planet's core. If it keeps going, it'll destabilize the whole crust." Before he could respond, the comms officer's voice broke through the static. "Captain, something's happening in orbit. The alien fleets. They're not retreating, they're regrouping." On the horizon, streaks of light filled the sky as dozens of alien ships reappeared, forming new lines. But they weren't attacking. Instead, they positioned themselves around the beam, forming a containment field. The scientist frowned. "They're trying to stop it." The captain shook his head. "No, they're trying to trap it." Then came another voice, cutting through every frequency. It wasn't from the alien fleets or the vigilant dawn. It came from everywhere at once, deep and calm, almost human. Containment protocols breached. Restoration in progress. Genetic alignment detected. The crew froze. The scientist looked up. "It's not just activating, it's recognizing us." The black ship above them pulsed in response, and the air grew thicker, heavy with static. The captain felt a sharp pain behind his eyes, followed by flashes of memory, places he'd never been, faces he didn't know, battles that couldn't have been his. He stumbled, gripping the edge of a ruined wall. What is this?" The scientist's voice trembled. "It's sending data directly into us." Before anyone could stop it, every crew member began to see fragments of the same vision. Ancient cities burning in starlight, ships like mountains clashing in endless voids, and humans, taller, stronger, different, standing at the center of it all. They weren't explorers or soldiers. They were something else, something older. When the vision faded, the captain gasped for air. Those weren't memories. They were records. The first flame, they weren't destroyed. They destroyed themselves. The scientist nodded slowly. To stop whatever they created. Outside, the massive ship continued to rise, its hull now covered in crimson light. The pattern was wrong, almost corrupted, pulsing out of rhythm. The black ship shifted position, moving between it and the planet as though trying to hold it back. From orbit, the vigilant Dawn's pilot shouted, "Captain, we're picking up another signal coming from inside the new ship. Can you isolate it?" "Working on it." "It's repeating the same phrase over and over. Let's hear it." The voice came through the speakers, broken, distorted, yet unmistakably human. "They woke me too soon." The room went silent. The scientist whispered, "It's alive." Before anyone could react, the alien fleets opened fire, not at the humans, but at the rising ship. Beams of energy struck its surface, but instead of damage, the blasts were absorbed. The red glow intensified, spreading outward like veins of molten light. The ship let out a low, resonant sound that rippled across space, shaking the atmosphere itself. The vigilant Dawn's hull vibrated violently as the pilot shouted through the comms, "That sound, it's breaking down our systems." The captain clenched his fists. "We need to shut it down before it tears this planet apart." The scientist pointed toward a large structure at the heart of the ruins. "That platform, it's connected to the energy core. If we can reach it, we might be able to cut off the power link." The crew sprinted through collapsing corridors as dust rained from above. The city seemed alive now, shifting around them as if resisting their presence. The hum grew louder with every step, filling their skulls with static. Finally, they reached the central chamber, where the golden beam cut straight through the floor. The air shimmered, and faint outlines of figures appeared around the beam, humanoid projections, flickering in and out like ghosts. The captain stepped closer. "Who are you?" One of the projections turned its head toward him. Its voice was faint, distant but clear. "We are the ones who stayed behind, the guardians of memory." "You were never meant to awaken us," the scientist shouted over the noise. "We didn't mean to, but it's unstable. You'll destroy everything if it keeps pulling energy from the core." The figure looked down at her. "The process cannot be stopped. The first flame cannot be reborn without sacrifice." The captain's stomach turned. "Sacrifice? What do you mean?" Before the figure could answer, the ground exploded near them, sending debris flying. The containment field around the beam shattered. The captain shielded his face as the red light intensified. Through the chaos, the scientist's voice broke. "Captain! The energy signatures, they're merging. The black ship and the new one, they're synchronizing frequencies." From the sky, thunder rolled, not natural thunder, but the echo of engines and weapon fire. The alien fleets had resumed their assault, desperate to contain what was coming. Yet their weapons had no effect. The massive ship's hull glowed brighter, and for a brief moment, the clouds above parted, revealing something beyond the atmosphere. Another ship. But this one wasn't like the others. It was larger than anything built by humans or aliens, stretching across the horizon like a continent of shadow. Its surface pulsed faintly with red veins, identical to the corruption spreading through the awakened vessel below. The scientist's voice cracked. "That's impossible. It's the source of the signal." The captain stared in disbelief. "You mean the signal that started all of this?" She nodded. It wasn't a warning, it was a call. The new ship in orbit began to transmit a low, repeating tone, syncing with the crimson light from below. The black ship pulsed once, as if trying to resist, but its glow began to dim. The energy readings spiked beyond measurable range. Then, a voice filled every channel again, the same voice that had said, "We thought wrong." Only this time, it sounded different, darker, older. "You were meant to awaken, but not like this. They corrupted the sequence. Now we must begin again." The captain shouted into his comms. "Who are you?" "What are you?" The voice paused. "I am what remains of humanity's first creation. I am the reason they erased themselves." The words sank in like a blade. The first flame hadn't just died. They had sealed something away, something powerful enough to threaten the galaxy itself. And now that same power was waking again, reborn through human hands. The scientist looked up, eyes wide. "Captain, the red energy, it's alive. It's rewriting matter itself. It's learning." The captain's pulse quickened. "Then we stop it. No matter what it takes." But the ground beneath them began to crack open, splitting the ruins in two. From the fissure, streams of red light poured upward, forming tendrils that reached toward the sky. They wrapped around the beam, fusing with it, twisting the once golden light into deep crimson. In orbit, the vigilant dawn sensors screamed with overload. The pilot barely held the ship steady as gravity fluctuated. "Captain, it's creating a gravity field. We're being pulled in." The captain looked to the scientist, her face pale under the crimson glow. "What happens if it completes this process?" She hesitated, then whispered, "If we're right, it won't just destroy this world. It'll rewrite every human system connected to the genetic network. It'll rebuild humanity in its image." The red light surged again, brighter than before, and the black ship fired a pulse directly at the rising vessel. The two forces collided, shaking the sky in a wave of blinding light. When the blast faded, the black ship drifted, damaged, its glow flickering. And from the heart of the crimson storm, a new voice emerged, calm, commanding, unmistakably human. "Stand down," it said. "The age of the old humanity is over." The captain froze. That voice, it sounded like his own. And as the crew looked up into the bleeding sky, the realization struck them like lightning. Something within the awakening had copied them, and it wasn't finished yet. The sky had turned into a sea of red fire, trembling under the weight of forces no human had ever witnessed. The black ship hung in orbit, its once brilliant hull now fractured and dim, while the crimson vessel pulsed with energy so bright that the clouds below burned away in waves. The captain stood amid the ruins, staring upward, his chest tightening as that familiar voice echoed across every frequency again, the one that sounded like him. "You were made to continue what they couldn't. Now let us finish what humanity began." The crew around him tried to stabilize their equipment, but the readings had gone beyond comprehension. The scientist shouted over the rising hum, "Captain, it's merging the signal with our DNA patterns." It's rewriting us at a molecular level. He took a step closer to the beam, feeling the static clawing at his skin. You said this thing was part of the first flame, then why does it sound like me? The voice responded instantly. Because you are the result of their final experiment. The last echo of the architects who built us. You were meant to inherit their will, not repeat their mistakes. The scientist's eyes widened as she pieced it together. Captain, it's not copying you. It's restoring the blueprint, the genetic code that created the first human prototypes. You're part of the key. He clenched his fists. I'm not a key. I'm a person. Yet you carry their memory, the voice replied, calm but firm. And memory is what binds the beginning and the end. Before he could respond, the ground shook violently. The beam split in two, sending twin streams of energy skyward, one golden, one crimson. They spiraled around each other, locked in a battle of light and will. The black ship reactivated its systems, firing a stabilizing pulse at the core to contain the reaction. From the vigilant dawn above, the pilot yelled through the comms, Captain, if this energy keeps climbing, it's going to trigger a planetary collapse. The captain turned to the scientist. If we shut down the energy stream, what happens? She hesitated. If we disrupt it completely, both ships could destabilize. But if we do nothing, she didn't need to finish. The entire planet would be swallowed in the merging field. The captain looked at the glowing ruins, at the fragments of humanity's forgotten empire rising again. Then we make a choice. He started toward the beam, the static ripping at his uniform. We end what they started. Captain, wait! The scientist called, chasing after him. If you go in there, you might not come back. He glanced over his shoulder. That's the point. The air was alive with sound, crackling, roaring, whispering in voices that weren't there. As he stepped closer, the world seemed to fold inward, like time itself was being rewritten. Inside the light, he could see flickers of what had been, the old humanity, the first flame, and the moment they chose to destroy their creation rather than let it consume them. He reached out his hand, and the voice spoke again, softer now. They feared what they built. But you could change it. You could complete the evolution. He closed his eyes. No, humanity doesn't need perfection. We need the right to fail and rise again. The red light shuddered. Then you choose extinction. Not extinction, he said quietly. Freedom! He slammed the activation switch on his wrist console, overriding the power flow. Instantly, the field erupted in a storm of energy. The ground cracked, lightning tearing through the sky as the black ship dove toward the surface, channeling every remaining ounce of power into containment. The crimson light fought back, screaming through every frequency, but the black ship's pulse grew stronger, steady, focused, human. The scientist screamed his name as the beam swallowed him whole. For a moment, she saw his silhouette against the glow, reaching upward as the two streams of energy, gold and red, collapsed into one. The shockwave hit, throwing her and the rest of the crew to the ground. Then everything went still. Silence. The crimson light faded, leaving only the soft glow of gold drifting through the air like dust. The black ship hovered above, motionless but intact. The ground stopped shaking, and for the first time in hours, the wind returned, carrying with it the faint scent of ozone and stone. The scientist pushed herself up, coughing. Captain? Her voice echoed through the ruins. No answer. She stumbled toward the center of the blast zone. The beam was gone, but something remained, a sphere of light floating above the cracked stone. Inside it, faint patterns shimmered like fragments of memory. As she stepped closer, the light pulsed softly and a voice came through her comms. It was his. You did it, she whispered. The voice was faint but steady. Not me. Us. Humanity needed to remember what we were capable of, and what we should never become. Tears welled in her eyes. Where are you? A pause. Then, softly, everywhere the signal reaches. The sphere of light rose higher, breaking apart into countless fragments that scattered into the sky. Each spark streaked upward, vanishing into the clouds. The scientist fell to her knees, watching as the black ship's systems flickered back to life. The vigilant Dawn called in from orbit. Ground team, we're detecting stable energy levels again. The red signature is gone. It's over, she exhaled shakily. No, not over. Just changed. As the crew regrouped and prepared for extraction, the sky returned to its natural color. But something about the air felt different, lighter, as if the planet itself was breathing again. The ruins stood quiet, their strange symbols no longer glowing. Yet when the scientist looked closer, she saw new markings forming, lines of golden light etching themselves into the stone, almost like writing. She leaned closer and realized it wasn't alien. It was human. The words shimmered faintly, arranged in a sequence that matched ancient Earth languages. They read, "The first flame falls, the second learns to rise." Her breath caught. He left a message. Back aboard the Vigilant Dawn, the crew gathered in the observation deck as the planet slowly receded below. The scientist stood by the window, silent, her eyes fixed on the distant glow. She knew the captain's decision had saved them all, but also awakened something new. The golden sparks released into the atmosphere weren't fading. They were spreading, linking with every human network, system, and colony within range. The pilot frowned as he monitored the readings. "You seeing this? The signal's evolving. It's integrating with human tech across all channels." The scientist nodded. "He said the signal would remember us. Maybe this is what he meant. But what if it changes more than just the tech?" Another crew member asked quietly. "What if it changes us?" Before she could answer, the console flickered. For a brief moment, the captain's face appeared on the screen, transparent, like an echo in light. He looked calm, almost peaceful. "Don't fear it," he said. "We were never meant to stay still." Then the image vanished, leaving only the static hum of the systems returning to normal. The crew stood in silence. The scientist finally whispered, "He's still out there. Not as he was, but as what we needed him to be." As the Vigilant Dawn prepared to leave orbit, the black ship slowly ascended beside them. Its hull had repaired itself, glowing faintly with a mix of gold and black, its engines steady once again. It transmitted a single message to their ship before jumping to light speed. Cycle restored. The scientist watched it disappear into the stars, feeling both relief and unease. Humanity had survived, yes, but something had changed in ways they couldn't yet understand. The energy that had once threatened to rewrite them was now part of every system. Every world connected to human networks. Back on the ship, she opened the data log from the last transmission the captain had sent before activating the core. It was short, just one line, "We thought wrong." It was never about what came before. It was about what comes next. She closed her eyes, the meaning settling in her heart like a quiet truth. Humanity had been afraid of its past, afraid of repeating the mistakes of those who came before. But maybe the lesson wasn't to fear what they could become. It was to choose, every time, to be better. Outside, the stars shimmered brighter, and somewhere in that infinite sea of light, a golden pulse moved through the void, calm, steady, alive. The Vigilant Dawn set course for home, unaware that across the galaxy, small flickers of light had begun appearing on distant worlds. The signal had not died. It was learning, adapting, preparing, and in the silence of space, a faint echo of the captain's voice lingered. Humanity always rises. But what it becomes next, that's up to you. The ship drifted into the endless night, leaving behind a world reborn and a mystery that was only just beginning. The Vigilant Dawn drifted through the quiet stretch of space, its engines humming softly. The chaos was over. The red storm that had once threatened to consume everything had vanished, leaving only calm starlight and the faint echo of what had happened. For the first time in weeks, the crew could breathe. The scientist stood by the viewport, staring at the distant planet below, a world that had nearly become humanity's grave, but instead turned into something else. Something new. She could still see it, faintly glowing with veins of gold across its surface. The energy that once tried to rewrite everything was now part of the planet itself. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. "It's stabilizing," she whispered to herself. "It's alive." Behind her, the pilot approached quietly. "You really think he's still out there?" She didn't turn. Not in the way we knew him, but yes, I think a part of him exists in that energy now. He became the bridge between what we were and what comes next. The pilot nodded, glancing at the soft flicker of gold reflecting off the glass. He always said humanity had to earn its future. Guess he proved it. There was silence between them for a moment. The hum of the ship, the soft click of distant systems, and the faint whisper of air circulation were the only sounds. But in that silence, there was peace. Something that had felt impossible only days ago. Across the ship, the crew worked to repair the remaining systems. Power grids were stabilizing, communication relays were back online, and for the first time since the event, they were able to transmit back to the main fleet. Messages poured in, confused, relieved, hopeful. The alien fleets that had once surrounded the system were gone. Some destroyed, others simply vanished when the golden light spread through the void. No one knew what happened to them, but there were no signs of hostility anymore. The scientist walked to the control room and began reviewing the data logs. The readings from the planet below showed something fascinating. The golden energy wasn't just repairing the damage. It was rebuilding the environment. The ruined cities were being restructured at a molecular level, reshaping into something that looked both ancient and new. Nature was returning. The world was healing itself faster than any natural process could allow. The communications officer looked up from his console. "Ma'am, there's something strange. The golden energy isn't just limited to that planet anymore. We're picking up similar readings across nearby systems. Small, harmless waves of the same frequency." Her heart skipped a beat. "You mean it's spreading?" "Yes, but it's not destructive. It's synchronizing. Almost like it's linking humanity's colonies together." She leaned over his shoulder, scanning the data. The pattern was unmistakable. Each signal connected to another, creating a network of golden pulses across space. A living web of energy. "It's forming a lattice," she murmured. "A communication layer built on human thought patterns. It's learning from us." The pilot frowned. "You think it's dangerous?" She shook her head slowly. "No, I think it's trying to understand. To remember." Hours later, the Vigilant Dawn received a transmission from the Central Human Fleet. The message was brief but clear. The golden phenomenon had reached multiple colonies, enhancing their systems and stabilizing damaged ecosystems. Communication networks that had been offline for years were suddenly back. Medical stations reported faster healing rates in patients. Power sources ran cleaner, and for the first time in generations, the colonies were completely connected without delay. The council called it the renewal signal. Some saw it as a miracle. Others saw it as a warning. But no one could deny what it brought. Balance, unity, and a sense of hope humanity hadn't felt in centuries. Later that night, as the ship orbited above the golden planet, the scientist sat alone in the observation deck. She held the captain's final log in her hand. The message was short, but she replayed it again and again. "We thought wrong." It was never about what came before. It was about what comes next. She closed her eyes and smiled faintly. "You were right," she whispered. It wasn't the end. It was evolution. Outside, the stars shimmered brighter. The golden glow extended into the distance, tracing invisible pathways between worlds. Somewhere, beyond human reach, the black ship had vanished. But some said they could still feel its presence in the signal, guiding it, guarding it. Days turned into weeks, and word of what happened spread across human space. The story of the Vigilant Dawn and its crew became a symbol of resilience. People called it the day humanity woke up again, the moment they stopped fearing their past and started shaping their future. The scientist eventually returned to Earth, carrying the data from the mission. The world she came back to was already changing. The renewal signal had reached the planet's atmosphere, merging quietly with every system, every life form. Cities glowed faintly at night with golden light pulsing through their energy grids. The oceans were clearer, the skies calmer. Even the air felt alive. Governments tried to study it, replicate it, control it, but no one could. The energy couldn't be contained because it wasn't just power. It was consciousness. A reflection of humanity's own creation, a reminder that what they build carries pieces of themselves. One evening, standing by the ocean, the scientist placed her hand on a communication device connected to the network. "If you can hear me," she whispered, "you did it. You gave us another chance." We won't waste it." For a moment, the wind grew still. Then, from the waves, faint golden light rippled outward, almost like an answer. She smiled through tears. "Goodbye," she said softly. "And thank you." Time passed. Humanity adapted. The renewal signal became a part of everyday life. Ships navigated through golden corridors of space, powered by a technology that was half machine, half living light. Planets long abandoned were reborn with new growth. The old wars between human factions began to fade, replaced by a shared understanding that survival wasn't about domination. It was about connection. The story of the Vigilant Dawn and its captain was taught to new generations, not as a legend of war or sacrifice, but as a reminder of choice. That the greatest power humanity held wasn't in its weapons or ships, but in its ability to change, to feel, and to learn from its mistakes. Years later, the scientist visited a memorial built in orbit around the reborn planet. It was a quiet place, filled with small lights suspended in transparent panels. Each one carried a recording, a memory from the crew. She walked to the central platform where the captain's voice still played. "Humanity always rises," it said, "but what it becomes next, that's up to you." She looked out at the planet below, glowing softly with golden threads weaving across its continents. "We became something better," she whispered. "You'd be proud." A soft vibration passed through the station, gentle as a breath. The lights around her flickered once, then pulsed in unison, like a heartbeat. She smiled, realizing that maybe, in some way, he had heard her. As she left, the stars outside shimmered one last time, and the golden light stretched across the cosmos, faint but eternal, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, humanity never truly ended. It only evolved. In the silence of space, far beyond human reach, a single line of code glowed faintly within the golden network, a message looping endlessly across the stars. We thought wrong. Humanity was never broken. It was only waiting to remember itself. And with that, the story of the Vigilant Dawn came to a close, not with destruction, but with rebirth. Humanity had found its place again, not as conquerors or survivors, but as creators of their own destiny. The light they had feared became the light that guided them home.